Hello and welcome to Fold into Peace, Gentle Yoga for Better Sleep. My name is Adriana with Neorafit, and today's practice is all about getting you wound down from your day so that you can sleep better. For today's practice, you'll need to set up near a wall. There is an alternative pose in case there's no wall space easily available. And you'll also need either a yoga block or a couple of folded blankets. So ideally, the blankets are about the same height as a yoga block, or I don't know, is that 4 or 5 inches? Something like that tall. It doesn't need to be too tall. So once you've got your props together, then we will get started right away. We'll begin today's practice in child's pose. To get into child's pose, widen your knees just a little bit wider than hip width distance apart and bring your big toes to touch. Then walk your hands out in front of you and let your forehead rest down onto the mat. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, let your hips settle down towards the mat. If your knees are too close together and you don't have enough space for your belly to sink down, then go ahead and widen them. And if you feel like your knees are so wide that there's compression or too much of a back bend happening in your lower back, then bring your knees in a little bit closer, maybe just under the side ribs so you have some support for the lower back. We'll stay here for a few more deep breaths. Maybe let your eyes close, starting to let go of whatever went on during your day. Take one more slow breath. And then walk your hands underneath your shoulders, press into your palms and rise up into a tabletop position. And from here we'll come into a star-shaped pigeon. So slide your right shin just behind your wrist and sit all the way down onto your right hip. So your back knee will be quite bent, possibly making two 90-degree angles, but keep your back leg as comfortable as possible. If you need to slide it back further or bend your knee more or slide it in closer, whatever you need, honor that. Then inhale, lift up tall through your spine. And as you exhale, start to make your way down into a fold. You can let your forehead rest onto stacked fists or onto a block, or you can stay a little bit more upright on your forearms if that would feel better in your body today. I won't be holding this for too long, just about one more deep breath. To come out of the pose, walk your hands back under your shoulders, curl your back toes under, and take a moment to slide your back knee back under your hip and slide your right knee back under your hip. And then we'll switch sides. Slide your left shin forward, just behind your wrists, and slide your right leg back, sitting fully down onto your left hip. So again, you're doing your best to make those two 90-degree angles or to get close to that two 90-degree angle shape. Start with the front leg at that 90-degree, and then the back leg, just let it do whatever it needs to do for today. Inhale, lift up your ribs. And as you exhale, start to fold forward. Again, maybe lowering your forehead down onto fists or onto a block, or just staying upright on your forearms or even on your hands. Whatever your body needs is perfect. And take a deep breath into your lower back. And a slow breath out. And we'll stay here for one more deep breath. And from here, we're coming into down dog. So walk your hands back under your shoulders, tuck your back toes under, and take your time lifting your hips and sliding your knees back underneath your hips. Then from here, curl your toes under and lift your hips up and back into downward facing dog. You can keep your knees really bent for this and reach down through your heels without necessarily touching them to the ground. If they touch, that's fine, and if your legs can easily straighten, that's fine too. But we're more worried about keeping a long spine than straight legs. Now let your head go. Maybe drop your chin towards your chest, nod your head yes, shake your head no, whatever would feel good here. And just one last breath. Then gently walk your feet to the top of the mat. Keep your feet hip-width distance apart or even a little bit wider. Bend your knees a lot so that you have full belly to thigh connection, and grab onto opposite elbows for ragdoll pose. Let your head hang heavy. And if it would feel good to sway a little bit side to side, or nod your head yes and shake your head no, go ahead and move through those movements. And stay here for one more deep breath. Then release your hands down to the ground. Take a big step back with your right foot and lower your right knee down into a lunge. Then from here, start to walk your hands back, bring your hips over your back knee, and straighten or partially straighten your left leg. If it's really challenging to touch your hands to the ground here, feel free to use a block either underneath just one hand or both so that you can stay a little bit more upright and keep a long spine. Inhale, reach your heart forward. And exhale, fold forward. And again, not staying here for too long. We'll take just about one more deep breath before we add on some movement. So now adding on that movement, point your toes over to the left into external rotation, and then point your toes over to the right. So you want to feel for the rotation actually coming from the thigh bone, and then getting exaggerated with the toe point, especially when you go into internal. We'll do that one more time. And then come into internal rotation, toes pointed over to the right. Option to stay right here if this is enough. If you need a little bit more, begin to rotate your chest slightly to the left, and maybe even use your right hand to press your left toes down if you still needed more. And just one more breath here. And then release that. Curl your back toes under and spring your right foot to the top of the mat. This time coming into Padangusthasana or big toe pose. So again, bend your knees a lot, belly to thigh connection, and take peace fingers around your big toes. Inhale, reach your heart forward, and exhale, fold forward. Maintain that belly to thigh connection, but if you feel like you're ready to straighten your legs 1 inch at a time or 1 centimeter at a time, go ahead and start to straighten them. And just one last breath here. Then release your grip. Inhale, come up to a flat back. And exhale, take a big step back with your left foot. Lower your left knee down to the ground. Send your hips back and start to straighten out your right leg into a half split. So again, feel free to use a block at whatever height would help you maintain a long spine, or 2 blocks is even better. Inhale, reach your heart towards your toes. And exhale, gently fold, keeping a long spine. And just one more breath here before we add on that movement. And then adding on, start to rotate your thighs. So externally rotate, toes point to the right, and internally rotate, toes point to the left. 2 more like that. Over to the right, over to the left, and last one, over to the right. Over to the left, this time you'll hold. Option to stay here if this is enough. If you need a little bit more, start to rotate your chest over to the right, maybe just pulling the right shoulder back slightly. And if you still need more, you can use your left hand to press your right toes down, maybe feeling this more along the side of your shin or even down into the ankle and top of the foot. Awesome. Release that. Now from here, instead of stepping forward, slide your right knee back to meet the left, cross your ankles, and fully sit down. All right, getting into Janushirshasana or head to knee pose. For this pose, you'll extend your right leg straight out in front of you, bend your right knee, then open your right knee out to the side so your foot is at the left inner thigh. Take a second to feel rooted down through your sit bones. Then inhale, lift your ribs, and exhale, gently walk yourself towards your toes. Your left knee can absolutely be bent here. And if your hamstrings are pretty tight or pretty sensitive, use one of your blankets. You can roll it up a bit and support underneath your knee just to make this pose feel a little bit more relaxing. Then you can hold it for longer if you'd like to. So belly to thigh connection is always going to be your safest bet for a forward fold. But if you're not finding that connection, just focus on a long spine instead rather than rounding. And then one last thing to consider. For some people, they really like to flex their toes back towards the shin. But in all reality, if this is a hamstring stretch, the ankle joint does not cross the hamstring, or the hamstring doesn't cross the ankle joint rather. So what you end up stretching is a nerve, the sciatic nerve, instead of the hamstring muscle itself. So I like to press into the ball of the foot a little bit. Totally up to you though, what feels better in your body, but you don't need to be too aggressive since we are just winding down. And we'll stay here for one more breath. Inhale. And exhale. And then slowly walk yourself all the way back up. Bring your right knee back up to center and extend your right leg forward. And we'll switch sides. Bend your left knee and open your left knee out to the left. Take a moment, root down through your sit bones. And once you feel rooted, use that connection to earth to lift your ribs up. Keep your ribs lifted as you walk yourself forward into a fold. Now, if you used the blanket underneath your knee on the other side, go for it. Or if you didn't use it on the other side, but on this side you're thinking maybe you'd like to try it, once again, go for it. Deep breath in, reach your heart forward. And exhale, maybe soften a little more into your fold. Staying here for just a few more deep breaths. Again, you can flex or press into the ball of your foot like you're pushing on a gas pedal, whatever feels better in your body today. Now slowly walk yourself all the way back up. And this time, lift the left knee up. Extend both legs straight out in front of you for Paschimottanasana, or seated forward fold. Root down through both sit bones, lift up your ribs, and start to make your way forward. So feel for the fold happening from the tilt in your pelvis. So as your hip bones tilt forward, that's what gets you closer to your thighs rather than the tilt happening in your upper back. Again, you can press forward through the balls of your feet. You can point your toes, you can flex, whatever would feel best for you. Inhale, heart forward, and exhale, fold forward. And just one more deep breath here. Now slowly walk yourself all the way back up to a seat. All right, lie down on your back and have either your stack of folded blankets or your block handy. So I'll demo this with the block because it's a little bit easier to get into place, but the blankets, it's the exact same thing. So you'll lie on your back and place the block underneath your sit bones. So basically right under your glutes, but not into the lower back, a little bit more on glute tissue itself. If you're using the blankets, it's the same thing. Slide the blankets underneath. And just make sure that the top of the blankets is basically right at your sacrum, not all the way up on your lower back. Now from here, squeeze your right knee in towards your chest and use the weight of your right knee to lower your ribs towards the ground. Let them drop. And then slide your left leg forward. If your knee is bent, that's okay. If you want to extend your leg, I know that can feel like a deeper stretch, then you'll just need to grab the block and place that underneath your heel if your heel is lifted up off the ground. So for that, you may need to reset, move your right leg, rebend your knees, and then make your way back into the pose. So take your time with whatever variation you need for today. And let your eyes close. Let all the muscles in your body relax. If grabbing onto your right shin is challenging, feel free to grab behind the thigh or even just hold on to pieces of your clothing to keep your leg towards your chest. But ideally, you're not using too much effort. hopefully getting wound down and ready for bed. And take one more breath here. And to come out, it's a little tricky. You need to slide the left leg back first and then lower the right knee down. If you used a block on the first side, just kick the block over to the right a little bit so it's set up for the other side. And then again, squeeze your left knee into your chest, grabbing onto whatever you can, piece of the clothing, hamstring, or the shin. Let your rib cage drop down towards the ground, let it get heavy, and then extend your right leg forward. If in order to straighten your leg, you need to be a little bit higher up, no worries, just place that block, or literally anything. It could be a box, it could be a book, whatever works. Inhale into your low belly. And exhale, find something to let go of. So maybe you notice that your eyes are like really focused on the screen, maybe close them. Or you feel your jaw is tense. Maybe you find a little space between the top and bottom rows of teeth instead. What else? Where are you holding tension and where can you find relief and release? One last breath here. Now to come out, slide your right leg back first and then set the left foot down to meet right. Awesome. So our final pose today is legs up the wall, but if you're pretty comfortable where you're at and you'd like to take Viparita Karani instead or inverted lake seal instead, you'll draw your knees in towards your chest and extend your legs straight up into the air. Now the goal here is to use as little muscle as possible. So you're trying to get your legs to just kind of float in space. And then throughout, whenever you feel yourself engage again, you can shake out your legs and then find that place where they're floating in space again. All right, so that's one option. If you're near a wall or you don't mind moving close to a wall, then you can set up in legs up the wall pose. So to get into the pose, you'll lay right next to a wall, lay on your side first, and then roll onto your back, getting your hips as close to the wall as you can comfortably be and legs straight up into the air. If you're practicing with a friend, have them put like a blanket or a bolster or a sandbag or something on top of your feet for extra relaxation. So whichever version works for you, go ahead and find yourself in that shape. I'm gonna come back into Viparita Karani just with the block this time so you can see all your options. You'll come into it by placing your sacrum on top of the block. The base of the spine, that triangular bone is the sacrum, and then knees in towards your chest and legs up into the air. Now wherever you are, let your arms open out to the sides, just a little bit away from your body with your palms facing up, and close your eyes. This relaxing inversion is really good for insomnia, especially legs up the wall. You can hold it for like 20 minutes. Legs up the headboard. It's my favorite way to do it. It helps to reverse blood flow, giving your heart an easier time. It can be really soothing for things like insomnia and for just helping you sleep. So if you'd like to stay here longer, feel free to pause the video now and stay for as long as you'd like. This is one of those poses you can hold for 20 minutes and it's okay. Otherwise, if you're ready to go to bed or get on with your day, squeeze your knees into your chest. If you are in legs up the wall, you'll roll to the side to come out the same way that you came in. If you're in inverted lake seal, lower your feet to the ground, press into your feet, remove your prop, and then release your hips to the ground. And then we'll all meet rolling over onto our sides. And then press yourself up to a seat. And bring your hands to heart center, sealing in your practice. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. My name again is Adriana with Neorafit. I hope that you have a beautiful night of sleep. Namaste.